Right, we're back. Season 2 of whatever the hell we put on YouTube.
Lack of technique.
Yeah, well no, this one is going to be technique. So this season we're going to be looking at submissions predominantly, and then looking at the finishing details, but then what would make those submissions fail. So not just escapes necessarily, like big extravagant ways of getting out, but actual small details that would be the difference between having to use an awful lot of strength to no strength at all. So the first one we're going to be looking at is triangles. We kind of mentioned a bit of it when we did the choke episode of the last season, but we're aiming for a very small amount of real estate. So we're looking at just the sides of the windpipe, not too much around the sides. If you go too much around the sides, that's where it's more muscle, you can feel that in your own neck. You just want the front where you feel the pulse. And that's pretty much what we're going to be trying to feel for with whatever different parts of the body we're using. When it comes to an arm in choke though, so arm triangles, darces, etc., we need to try and move the shoulder into that point, because we're not using a part of our body now, we're going to use a part of theirs, and it's normally the shoulder structure here. You can see it a lot when it's done with arm triangles. So when I'm doing an arm triangle with someone, is I want my bicep, about this part of my bicep here, to be sitting on the throat, and I want the arm to be not across the neck here. If you pull the arm across the neck, it's not biting into your carotid on this side. If the arm is too high here, again there's a gap here and nothing's really happening. It's if you imagine lifting from your lat here, from the bottom of just next to your ribs, and lifting the entire structure up into your neck here. You start to feel it push in. The problem is done with an arm triangle. Nat, you can put your head here, please. Okay. So when I go for the arm triangle, for example, again, if I lift my elbow up off the floor, I'm probably going to lose my accuracy here. If I go down and lie my weight onto his shoulder, it pushes his shoulder away from his carotid. His carotid's at the front. If I lie my weight down, it's going to be pushing more towards the back. So I need to find a way of lifting it up and pushing it up into the neck. I also want to take the entire structure here and push it diagonally, like it's going through his nose and through his eye, here. So in theory, I shouldn't have to use much effort. So, just as a point of reference, I'm going to put the pressure into his artery on one side, and then I'm going to lift the structure up into his neck on the other side. Thank you. So choke done right shouldn't require any strength whatsoever. All you're theoretically closing is just 2 straws. That's all they are. And if you take all your musculature to crush those straws, obviously you're doing something really wrong. Okay? We want this kind of instant gratification where you want to inflict so much pain on as possible, and we want to just get the fight over and done with, instead of actually spending some time looking at the technique itself and understanding why it is or is not working. So we're going to do that with the triangle. We're going to break it down. So when you look at the triangle here, I'm aiming for his artery here, I'm aiming for his artery there. So I need something to push into the artery here, I need something to pull his shoulder into the artery here. Look at like a traditional looked at triangle here. Okay? Depending where his neck's sitting, I'm not actually hitting that front part there. I'm more hitting onto the side. That's why you kind of got to pull the head down. And again, with where the shoulder structure's sitting, depending how thick their shoulders are, it's probably not sitting in his artery at the front. It's probably missing. Hence why you got to try and pull the head into it. Again, what I've just said, we're looking at closing down 2 straws, 2 arteries, and it's taken both my legs and both my arms to accomplish this. It means there's something terribly wrong happening. But I'm going to use the same idea for when I do the arm triangle. So imagine this was my bicep. I want to kick it up into his neck there. With this leg, I don't want it just sitting in front of his arm here, just to close my legs. I want to start from the back. So I actually want his arm out here, depending on how wide it is. I'll probably keep it tucked under here as well. From there, I create the angle, start my leg low, and as I close, I'm pulling my knee towards my face here. So I should pull his shoulder, because the angle I've kept it at in front of his neck with this overhook, through and under his jaw. So I twist his head. If I twist his head, look what happens to his neck. It moves it in front of my hamstring. And that was no effort. The hand wasn't pulling his head down, it maneuvered his artery into the right place, and this was just pulling his arm forwards. You'll find that when you do it this way, and you create a large amount of surface to bite against, if you actually take the arm across again, once it's in, it actually takes some of the choke off. You've now got to start pulling the head down and doing all those kind of things again. I'm not saying that this method is the way it should be done. What I'm actually saying is that we should be able to problem solve and critique and be consciously thinking about why our choke is or is not working. So I want to look at the accuracy. So coming back again. So if I just end up accidentally landing in a choke here and it's not working, I can now look at it and think, right, is this worth abandoning? Because where is my accuracy? There's nowhere near there. And this is sitting way too far forward on his shoulder. It's not pulling his shoulder into his artery. So everything I do is going to be taking a lot more effort. So is it possible to readjust? Yes. Because I want to be able to move those aspects in. I want to be able to find a way of getting my hamstring up underneath his neck. I want to find a way of pulling his shoulder up on the other side. Again, as a point of reference and to prove the theory, I should be able to do a triangle without closing my legs together. If I follow this idea correctly. So I make sure his head's in the right place. Again, this is about effort. Making sure the hamstring's sitting in the right point. I'm just going to use this to pull the shoulder in. So then look at it from the opposite angle. You can then use this to try and mess up someone's chokes. So if Naki has me in a triangle, now hopefully this goes right, otherwise I'm going to black out on camera. And I will upload it. It's going to be amazing. Move this a bit. Thank you. So, if I'm here and he's got this triangle on, I know at this point hope is lost. But if I can try and maneuver my muscle into his neck here, I've already taken away half the choke. It looks like a normal triangle. All he's doing now is biting onto the rear part of my spine. This part here, again, if my arm's sitting in front of my neck, it's kind of in the wrong place. It's kind of possible to still get pulled into my artery. But if I can put my arm here, my head's fully in the choke, but this part is biting onto my spine, and this part is just my shoulder is completely dodging the front of my neck. So I can live here quite happily.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a waste of energy.
It's wasted energy. Again, I might get submitted in a different way. I'm not saying that is a perfect escape. I'm not looking at escaping the triangle like that. What I am saying is you can use these ideas to either mess up someone's triangle or improve your own. So we've looked at how having the arm here completely destroys the triangle. So if they're locked in here, you're going to have a hard time. You want to be able to pull forward and pull up. The artery here, if they're looking towards their shoulder, your leg going to be probably biting onto the rear end of their spine. Well, move it so that it bites into the artery. But try it without the locking your legs up. Just try and position your legs perfectly so it kicks into the artery here and pulls this shoulder from the lat forwards up into the throat. We're going to be looking at, I think it's seven episodes. Yeah. Please comment if you want us to cover anything in particular. We've got plans for darce chokes, ankle locks. I'm not going to try and go through maybe the heel hook systems that are out there because You know, Dan Herr, Craig Jones have all got great stuff out there. But more one of the run-of-the-mill submissions that you'll see in the average practice. I'm not looking at setups. I'm looking at why they work and what you can do to mess them up. So please comment. Please drop us any ideas. I'd love to read them. I may not do them if they're crap.
Abuse.
Yeah, there is abuse.
Who are these guys?
Yeah, but if it's something interesting, then and something really simple that we have some good ideas for, then definitely we'll do an episode for it. But yeah, thank you and thank you for coming back. This is Chris and Naki.